In this video, you are going to learn how to become more aware in all of your fights. I'm going to be going over all the best tips and everything you need to know about being more aware so you can improve your fighting in arena and tournaments. Let's go. So, awareness is a really important skill to have in Fortnite, but what most people don't know is that awareness is boosted so much by focus. By focus, I mean concentrating or focusing on the right things within fights so that you can use your brain more effectively and more efficiently to get the best performance out of your fights in-game. Okay, so the first thing that you gotta do to become more aware is learn to slow down in your fights. This might sound a bit weird.
But Shem, don't you want to be fast or smooth with your gameplay? Not slow.
Well, yes, but no. Slowing down in your fights can actually even help you go faster. Let me explain. Just before your fights, you want to slow down your playstyle and just focus on what's going on in the fight, how your opponent is playing, what weapons they have, and so on. Just instead of going all out mechanical god instantly and free building and burning like 400 mats and getting nothing, just slow down and look around to actively gain some awareness in your fights. The next tip also ties into this. During your fights, you want to be playing in bursts of speed and periods of breaks. You want to be going between playing fast in bursts of full speed in certain situations and slower after to gain awareness. If you see a piece control opportunity or opportunity to take high ground, put on a burst of speed and just go all out to get the piece control or high ground. But then you want to start a period of rest where you just chill out a bit, figure out what's going on, and try to actively be more aware so you can predict your opponent. Then, once you've gained the awareness from that period of rest, you want to put on another burst of speed to piece up your opponent and get the kill. If you don't get the kill, just slow down and have another rest period. If you keep repeating this alternating pattern of rest periods where you actively try to read the situation and gain awareness of what's going on around you, and burst periods of speed where you go all out, you'll be much more effective in all of your fights. Now that you know how to take pauses in your fights to gain awareness, I want to talk about how you can put that awareness to use properly to get an elimination, and that is with bursts of speed. I talked about them a little in the last section, but now we're going to elaborate. Bursts of speed are similar to what you'll be doing in a fight in creative or while free building. You've just seen an opportunity, know exactly what to do, and it just comes down to doing the things as fast as possible to capitalize on it. In bursts of speed like this, you can build and edit at full speed because you don't really have to worry about needing any information because you already got it through the rest period in your gameplay. Be careful not to stay in this burst of speed for too long though, as it's easy to fall into the trap of making everything a burst of speed and then you just end up brain dead. We don't want that. Be careful to shorten the bursts of speed because you'll need to pause some time. This will also come naturally through practice because you'll realize when it's best to just stop going for an opportunity and chill. Some experimentation will be needed to find the right balance between amounts of time in resting or pausing periods and bursts of speed and aggression, and also to find the sweet spot of how aggressive you should be with these opportunities and how risky you'll get. Your current playstyle will mainly affect these things. For example, a passive player will spend less time in bursts of speed as they want to be less risky, and because of that they have to wait longer to find an opportunity that they feel comfortable taking. Just on the bus each game, try to remind yourself that you're going to put into practice this playstyle, and over time it will come. Next up, if you want to start becoming more aware of everything that's going on in your fights, you first need to learn to be actively aware of what you are doing. This might sound really odd at first, but just stick with me. You'll never be able to take full advantage of how aware of a situation you are if you're not first aware of yourself. For example, if you manage to read someone perfectly in a fight, but then you're not aware of yourself enough to actively tell yourself what to do in that situation, and your instincts and muscle memory just kick in and play the fight out like you always do, you won't be able to take advantage of the fact that you're really aware of that situation, and it will seem like you aren't. Also, you won't be able to improve at all because you'll never be able to put into practice the things you're trying to get better at in game if you keep letting your muscle memory and instincts just do it for you. This tip can help you a lot because not only does it make you more aware after you practice it for a while, it also helps that awareness be more effective, so it's like twice as good. And a little bonus awareness related tip for this video, awareness itself isn't useful unless you know what to do when you gain the information from being more aware. You need to practice things like high ground retakes and boxing people and rotating. Otherwise, even if you are aware, you won't be able to capitalize on an opportunity to make any plays. For example, if you've practiced a ton being aware of where you are in the zone and where other players are, but you have no clue about anything like dead side or rotating, you'll be fully aware of where everything is with all the information you need to make a good rotate. You just won't know how to do it. Just make sure you make the distinction between not being aware enough or just plainly not knowing when or how to do something. It's okay if you fall into this category and you don't know how or when to do something, but if you do know your issue that you need to improve on, you might want to check out my routine video or creative maps video on screen now about the best ways to improve all parts of your game and the best creative maps to do it. Let's get back into the topic of the video. Back into awareness advice. To be more aware, you really need to focus on focusing on the right things. If you're struggling to be aware in your fights and you now know how to be aware of yourself and what you're doing in your own gameplay, you need to be focusing on the right things in fights. This is one of the main reasons that people find themselves being really dominant in any fights in creative but unable to perform in real fights. There just isn't anything else other than the actual fight that you need to focus on in creative. Whereas arena, scrims, and tournaments, you need to focus on other things. This leaves people overwhelmed by the amount of things they need to focus on, such as zones, third parties, mats, and smashing the like button on this video. This, combined with a ping increase in-game, is mostly why people find fighting in-game so much harder than creative. The fights aren't harder, but there is a simple fix to being more aware in all of these situations, just learning to focus on the right things. During fights, you need to sort of train your mind to focus on what matters in a fight and go faster between focusing on those things. This kind of goes along with slowing down in fights. You need to focus on what matters. For example, when you're in a pause or break in your fight and you're trying to just read your opponent, this is the time that you need to focus on reloading your weapons, checking your mats, looking for third parties, and checking zone and stuff. And then when you're in that period of speed, that burst of speed, you should be completely focusing on boxing your opponent and hitting your shots, just like you would in creative. I'm not saying to completely forget and focus on nothing in those bursts of speed. This technique of playing in bursts of speed and then thinking pauses just makes it so much easier to fight at your best with those insane moves that you do at creative while having the most awareness as possible. This is probably going to become the new fighting meta and only a few people are talking about it, so you better catch on quick so you don't fall behind. And last but certainly not least is that you should combine all of the tips I mentioned before into a fast, slow playstyle. This playstyle is definitely going to become the new meta playstyle for improving and just playing better because it combines the best of both worlds. The slow aspect gives you more consistency with your building and editing and means you'll hit your shots harder as well, while the fast aspect means that you can always get height and piece up your opponent instantly when you have an opportunity. This means that you'll be able to keep up in fights with all of the zero ping mechanical gods while not having a sense as high as Mr. Savage. This will be unfamiliar to most people, so it will require a lot of practice to get down. Speaking of practice, I recently made a video over here on the best creative maps to use for practicing the best so you can fast track your improvement. It'll be on the screen now, so I'll see you over there.